Well, thanks, Roland. Appreciate it. So I'm joined by Roland Martin, TV host extraordinaire, commentator. Thanks for being here, Roland.
Glad to be here.
So, Roland, we're going to go right into it and talk about what's happening with the National Association of Black Journalists and the controversy with CNN. What started this investigation? What spurred this investigation to begin with?
Well, one of the things that we have been doing is we've been meeting over the last year with all the different media companies. And so we met last year with CBS, we met with NBC, we had a meeting with Fox News as well. In fact, the new leadership of CBS, Susan Zirinsky, she started as president last Friday. We met with her on her first day. We'll be meeting with ABC week after next. And so this is something that, so it's not one company we've only been focusing on. And so it's really about looking at these companies and not just on air, but also off air, the executive ranks. And so as we began to ask these questions and look at the data, we said, wait a minute, how in the world is it that you have CNN that has literally no Black executive producers, no Black vice presidents, no Black senior vice presidents, no Black executive vice presidents, and Jeff Zucker, the president, has no Black direct reports. And that's a total change than when he arrived 6 years ago. And so we want those questions asked. The reality is,
you're saying all of those roles that you just mentioned previously had African Americans in those roles?
There were African Americans. There was vice president, that was an executive producer in program development in 2012. Tanisha Bell Abernathy was an executive producer on one of the CNN shows. You had in 2013, Jeff Zucker promoted Darius Walker, who was the New York bureau chief to vice president in 2013, but he was laid off in 2014. Geraldine Moriba became VP over diversity. She worked in program development. She left, I believe, in 2015. Mark Whitaker was the the managing editor, number 2 overall at CNN when Zucker arrived, and then he was let go. I think it was in February of 2013. And so, for instance, you take Tanisha Bell Abernathy. Since she left in 2015, there's been no Black executive producer. And so, what does this mean? That means that when the decisions are being made about coverage, when the decisions are being made about who do they hire, on air, off air, there are no African Americans at the table. This is about.
What about there was some coverage that pointing out that CNN is the only of the 3 major cable news networks that has a primetime African American anchor, Don Lemon.
But we're not discussing on air. See, this is so you got to understand this is the dance that companies play. Folks will say, and look, we applaud our on-air folks, whether it's Robin Roberts at ABC, whether it's Al Roker at NBC, whether it's Gayle King at CBS. But we don't just want our folks who are on air. We also want representation behind the camera. Those are the power positions. Those are the positions, let's be real honest, where people are in those positions in their 50s and 60s up until then they're 70. These are the people who are making decision makers. They are the ones who are bringing in the next generation of executives. And so when you don't have high-ranking executives, middle management, and lower executives, then what is it going to say? We understand this. In 24 years, America is going to be a nation majority people of color. That means that if you are 30 today, that means that in 24 years, you'll be 54. You'll actually be in your prime place to be in management. What it says is that you're not going to have African Americans who are going to be in position to be leading. We want to see our folks running networks. We want to see them as number 2. Susan Zirinsky just took over CBS. Her number 2, Kim Godwin, executive vice president, African American. These EVP for development at CBS, a woman of color. Other networks, we have people who are in place. To have no one in the pipeline, that's a problem.
So do you think that there is bias then at CNN? Is CNN biased against senior executives who are African American?
That's one of the reasons why we call for a civil rights audit to examine the culture and a top to bottom examination of the network. If you look at the history, look at Rodney Ho with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He's written numerous articles. there have been a number of EEOC complaints filed against CNN by Black employees. There were several lawsuits that were filed against CNN as well. Many of those lawsuits were settled. There's a current lawsuit that was filed in Los Angeles that is right now still at the California State Supreme Court. And so that raises questions. When you have that many complaints and lawsuits, that's a culture issue. And so by having a civil rights audit, we want AT&T to hire an external body to come in and actually assess, talk to current employees, talk to former employees, look at numbers, examine compensation. What are Black staffers? What are Black contributors and anchors? What are they being compared to their white counterparts? And so we know what we have been hearing from our members who work there. We know what we have been hearing from folks who no longer work there. And we believe that needs to be examined. So we're not alleging, we're not saying it's racist, somebody is biased. What we're saying is, how in the world in 2019, there can be no Black executive producers, no Black VPs, EVPs, SVPs, and how does Jeff Zucker have a management team? His direct reports serve as a board director. And not one African American. That's an issue.
So, and in terms of CNN as a brand, obviously there's been a lot of tension between Trump supporters or the president himself and CNN, a lot of back and forth, a lot of criticism of the president by CNN. Do you think there's a level of hypocrisy that CNN and some other, I would say, more mainstream outlets have criticized the president and say that he's racially insensitive? Do you think there's some hypocrisy
is that just
from CNN?
No, it's not just the question. So let me broaden my answer. And I've said this for years. It is hypocritical for media outlets to question the diversity of the White House, of congressional staffers, of corporate America, and they're unwilling to look at their own house. Soledad O'Brien, she actually, that was August 4th, 2008, Mediaite wrote about this tweet that she sent out where CNN had a story criticizing diversity, examining diversity in the White House. And Soledad said, well, what about your own executive ranks? Where are your Black executives? Mediaite wrote it, and that's where they showed that the video of all their executives. And that's the point I've been raising for years, that the problem is media, we report on everybody else. Who reports on us? We love to challenge other people and demand answers from them, yet we don't want to demand the answers from ourselves. And the issue, and when you look at this industry, it is largely run by white men. It has an impact on women, Black folks, Latinos, Asians, Native Americans, and media never wants to examine itself. Media never wants to say, wait a minute, what's our house like? Let's get our house in order. So whether you're talking about the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, mid-sized papers, it doesn't matter as well. They don't want to be asking those questions because it's a little hard when you do that. But I'm going to expand it beyond just news media. Last year, the T. Howard Foundation had their annual dinner. And they one of the folks they recognized was John LeGrand. He's the president of FX Networks. He looked at the shows on FX and said, wait a minute, how is it that 80% of our showrunners are white men? He said, he wrote this email, went out to the entire company. He said, I'm a white man. He said, I'm a white man. He said, but we're not the future of America. He said, women, people of color, in 6 months, as a result of him sending out that email, they went from 88% of their showrunners being white men to half of their shows having people of color and women as executives. That's called leadership. You had Al Newhart, who years ago, the late Al Newhart was the CEO of Gannett. USA Today, own a newspaper chain, they own television networks. Al Newhart said, we are going to be the leading media company in America when it comes to diversity. He said, I am going to apply diversity to your bonuses. And he said, and if anyone objects, you are more than welcome to leave Gannett. And some people did. The reason today you have Black folks and Latinos and women and Asian Americans and Native Americans who became publishers of newspapers, executive editors of newspapers, news director of TV stations, general manager. How we're going to lead as a company. That's the only way you change, when leaders lead and mandate it, and they say no excuses. Al Newhart was a white guy. John LeGrant, white guy. They said this is how we are going to lead in the future, and that's what needs to happen to other companies.
So, and what about the looking at the bottom line? Because obviously a lot of people say, well, it shouldn't be about gender or race. It should really be about results. It should be about profits, and it should be about who is the best person for the role, regardless of their identity.
Yeah, that's great, but here's the piece. If you don't have black folks considered, how do you know who's the best? Let's take it back. When Jackie Robinson broke into the major league, it wasn't called Major League Baseball because they were the best players. No, it was Major League Baseball because the white owners had the best stadiums, the best uniforms, and they traveled. Every time Major League Baseball players, white Major League Baseball players, played the Negro leagues, they got their asses kicked. What does it tell you? The talent was in the Negro leagues. Racism kept them out of the major leagues. Same thing in basketball. Oh, you look, in basketball, it was before 1950, before the NBA had a black player. Really? You can tell me the black folks weren't able to play the game? No.
So are you saying that there were a lot of people at CNN who were turned away, that were qualified African Americans who have been turned away, that or not even?
What I'm saying is, who are you considering, and what are the judgments being made? How is it that we can go to numerous other media companies and they have senior black executives, they have direct reports, they have executive producers, but CNN doesn't? Now, if you said 5 other companies have the exact same problem, okay, but 5 other major companies don't. And all I'm saying is, what is it about the culture? Why is it there are none? When I say none, I literally mean 0. When you talk about executive producers, 0. I would dare say to CNN, assess how many black senior producers. When you start talking about how do you go up the ranks, typically it's associate producer, you become a line producer, you can become a segment producer, senior producer, executive producer. That's the pipeline that feeds. And typically, if you've been executive producer of a show, that's where you're likely going to pull folks from to move them to head of programming or vice presidents or EVPs and then go up. So if you don't have anybody in the pipeline, well then, how do they even are in a position to even apply for those jobs? And so how do they apply for jobs at other networks? This is not just a CNN problem. Let's just be real clear, okay? The issue here is that we had a meeting scheduled with CNN. They canceled the meeting because they didn't want me in the meeting. We made
right. I want to talk about that a little bit because so we know
we made it clear that every media company we met with, our executive leadership team met with those companies. No company has ever said, oh, we don't want to meet this person here. Our deal is you don't determine who sits on our side of the table. It's as simple as that. Just like we don't determine who sits on their side of the table. This issue is not about Roland or Jeff or Amy and Tellis or anybody else. The issue is, in which they have yet to address, why are there no black executives up and down the chain? And they have not given us an answer as to why, or even a plan of action to fix it.
So, Roland, so then, yes, to this question of what happened in 2016. So CNN put out a statement saying the reason they don't want to meet with you at the table is because of actions that were taken with regard to the debate and the allegation about, I'm sorry?
It was a town hall.
Town hall, yeah, the town hall. So the presidential town hall in which Donna Brazile had given questions to the Hillary Clinton campaign in advance. Donna Brazile has said that you were not involved in the situation, and CNN has said otherwise.
Right,
so
she said it.
Why is there a discrepancy between what Donna Brazile says and what CNN says, and what resolution would there be? Would you turn to legal action to resolve this dispute?
No, first of all, let's be clear. if CNN has an issue with Donna Brazile, they take it up with Donna Brazile. Okay, so that's simple. Two, for us, this issue has nothing to do with that. That's CNN deflecting. Okay, that has nothing to do with why do you have no black executive producers. When they communicated back to us, we sent a letter and we listed no black EPs, VPs, EVPs, direct reports. They responded that we were wrong, that there were no black vice presidents on the news side. We said, okay, correct us. Give us the name or the names and the titles. It's been 3 weeks. They haven't. The fact of the matter is, we're not wrong. We know there's a VP for legal. That's not news. We know there's a VP for news source sales. That's not news. That's why they can't give it to us, because it doesn't exist. So they want to deflect. We're not going to deflect. The question for us is, we're discussing black executives. So there's no legal grounds to sue. You can't sue someone saying you have to meet with us. So what we've said is, okay, CNN.
So what I'm asking is what they've said about your behavior. Would you sue them for defamation or any sort of public slander about how they're characterizing your behavior?
I'm not even. Here's the deal. The reason I'm not wasting my time on any of that is because that's what they want. They want that to become the issue. We are solely focused on the issue, lack of black executives. We're not going to play deflection. We're not going to play, let's go over here. No. We're going to stay right here and discuss this issue. What we have made clear, and we've said this in our statement, that since they don't want to meet, we had previously previously were told that we were going to meet, that we would have a meeting with Randall Stevenson, who is the CEO of AT&T, now the parent company of CNN. We are pursuing that meeting. So John Stankey, who is the head of Warner Media, who is Jeff Zucker's boss at CNN, our deal is whether we meet with him, whether we meet with Stevenson, and if we do meet, we're meeting as a group, our executive team. So we are very focused on exactly what we initially said. NAACP has come out in support of our position. Many other groups are preparing statements that will be released coming out in support of our position. Congressman Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts today tweeted out her support of our position. Sherlyn Ifill, NAACP Legal Defense Fund, Kristen Clark, Laws Committee for Civil Rights Under Law have done as well. And then there are numerous other people who are doing that. We are focused on the issue. What we are not going to do is get sidetracked by their deflection.
So to follow on your point about when you said you want to focus on the issue, would you not being in the room help to focus on the issue if they're trying to deflect for purposes of just moving forward on hiring?
Here's the deal. I am vice president of digital of NABJ. There are 4 top officials in NABJ, the president and 3 vice presidents. Why would one of our 3 vice presidents not be in the meeting?
Well, like I said, you said you want to advance the issue, and if they're saying the problem is existing.
When we met with Susan Zirinsky, the president of CBS, I sat right next to her. When we met with Fox News, I sat across from the president of Fox News. When we meet with NBC, I'll be sitting across from NBC president. When we meet with the president of ABC, I'll be sitting across from the president of ABC. That's exactly how our meetings have gone. If one of our folks can't attend because of travel, that's it. But we are not going to allow anybody to dictate who can and cannot attend a meeting on our behalf. No one.
So you mentioned Fox News, and Fox News has had several lawsuits as it relates to issues around racial diversity and work environment. Settlements. Well, yeah, lawsuits with settlements. You said you met with Fox News. Yep. Have you seen an improvement in the last several years since these lawsuits have emerged?
Well, first of all, the lawsuit was settled last year. And the second thing is we met with them, what was it? It was September. I got to double check when we met with them. And so our conversations continue. We talked about, also keep in mind, the president of Fox Business is an African-American man. Interesting that Fox Business has a president who's African American. CNN has no black executives. What does that tell you? And so we had a very good meeting with them talking about being able to hire, recruit, develop next generation leaders on air, off air. And so we're very encouraged by those conversations that we had with Fox News, just like the conversations that we had with CBS. We've had positive responses from all the media companies that we have met with. And look, there are other media companies who we've called out. Look, we called out CBS when it came to when that graphic was posted with regards to the lack of black embeds on their 2020 presidential campaign. And we put them on blast publicly. They were not happy about it, but that's our position. When we met with them last Friday, it wasn't like they were angry. It was that they understood our position, they explained their position, and so we went forward. See, that's the whole deal here. And see, what people have to understand is that there are going to be times. Look, we represent, we are the largest minority journalism organization in the world, NABJ. We are there to fight on behalf of our members, and not just our members, African American journalists, period. And so there are going to be times when it's contentious, where we might take public positions against media companies and call them out. That's fine. It's no personal feelings for us. It's business. The issue for us is very simple. We will remain steadfast in exactly how we're going to approach these issues, and we will never back down. Frederick Douglass said this: power concedes nothing without a demand. Never has, never will. And he also said, agitate, agitate, agitate. That's what we've always done. That's what black folks have always done. And the reality is this: if CNN had black executives, we would not be having this conversation. If CNN had black executive producers, we would not be having this conversation. And so the onus is really on CNN to answer, how is it you have none?
All right. Roland, we appreciate your time. I want to get one last question, separate, sure, but on the issue of Fox News and the debate, which the Democratic National Committee has said that they do not want to have Fox News participate in the primary process as it relates to debate. Do you agree that that's a smart move by the DNC? Because a lot of people say, well, this is not smart because there are millions of potential swing voters who might be exposed to this debate, and hear some thoughts from the candidates themselves.
Did any of those same people criticize the Republican National Committee when they had no debates on MSNBC in 2016? There were none. There were no Republican debates on MSNBC in 2016. Why? Probably for the same reason why the Democrats have chosen. Democrats have probably said our people are always under constant and vicious attack by the network. And then some have said, yes, and look, there are fine journalists over there as well, but there are others who say even when it comes to their quote news programs, not just their primetime programs, their morning show as well. The DNC has the right to decide where they want to hold debates, who they want to have debates with. Look, I spent 13 years at TV1 cable network. If the DNC said we don't want to do a debate with TV1, we'll do one with BET. That's their choice. I could argue that, well, you should do with us. They could say, no, we're going to do one with Univision, not Telemundo. Well, that's their choice as well. And so those are the choices they can make. But again, for the people who complain, I just want to know, when I see Chris Wallace and Sean Hannity foaming at the mouth, being angry with the DNC decision, please, and show me the video. Show me the video of Chris Wallace and Sean Hannity and others at Fox News blasting the Republican Party for not having a debate on MSNBC.
Well, I think people would say, well, there's a big difference between Chris Wallace and Sean Hannity in terms of their news judgment, their approach. One is much more news focused, and one is.
But the DNC is choosing the network. It's the network, and what they've decided is that when they examine the entire network, Fox and Friends in the morning, the midday show, all those different shows. People want to make the argument that, well, you have these news shows. First of all, Chris Wallace's show runs once a week. Hannity, 5 nights a week. Ingram, 5 nights a week. Fox and Friends, actually not even 5, 7 days a week, the morning show and the weekend show. You can go down the line. So the reality is the amount of airtime of their news shows compared to their opinion shows, not even close. That's the DNC's decision. But again, I would listen to the Fox News folks and their criticism if they provide for me the video where they were just as ticked off when the Republicans chose not to have one on MSNBC. I dare say you're not going to be able to find it.
Well, they're their competitors, so. But I personally think they should have. I think everyone should talk to everyone. I really do.
But here's the deal, though. If you don't think that you're going to get the fair shake, but here's the other piece. You also ask yourself the question. First of all, Fox News' viewership is largely old and white. They're not going to be flipping to the Democratic side.
Well, but there are way more people who watch the debates than watch the regular.
Right.
They're like massively different.
Right. But the point is, the people, they want to watch the debates, they're going to go where the debate is. See, that's the whole point. I mean, the problem, if you have a debate, they're going to go where, if you want to watch a debate, you're going to go where the debate is. And so for the Democrats, it's like, yo, we're not going to sit here and do it. I mean, that's their decision. That's fine with me. I just think it's really interesting. All of the conservatives who are really upset, none of them said jack when Republican National Committee chose not to have any on MSNBC. So, you know what? There you go.
Well, myself personally, as a Trump supporter who goes on Al Sharpton's show, I'm not afraid to talk to anybody.
Well, tell Fox News that, considering all the Fox News shows are scared to book me. The only show on Fox News that books me is the brother Charles Payne. But,
I love Charles. Charles is awesome.
Yeah, but the rest of them, no, they're scared. So Sean loves talking. Sean, Tucker, Laura, all of them. It's amazing how they are. Here, you really want to laugh. Those shows, they have booked the guests who I put on TV first on my show, but they won't bring the host on. I wonder why they're scared to debate me.
Well, they're now scared of me, actually. I used to go on for 4.5 years, but after I started Bold and they started Fox Nation, they said I'm not allowed anymore because of Fox Nation. So.
Well, trust me, they'll book people who are on Roland Martin Unfiltered, but they won't book Roland Martin. I wonder why. And look, I am more than happy to debate any of them, but I think they may realize I'm a little more fierce debater than they can handle.
Well, Roland, next time you're in New York, I would love to debate you.
All right. Be careful what you wish for.
All right. I can handle Al Sharpton. I can handle you, I think.
Oh, no. Trust me. I'm not Reverend Sharpton. Trust me.
Well, trust me. I'm not either.
I guarantee you. All right. We'll do it.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Roland.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. And thanks again for being so flexible. We just built the studio today, so it's crazy.
Okay, cool. All right.
Good luck with your Unfiltered.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. Take care.